Hey everyone, in day 2 of my new Stitch a Day video series for this holiday season, I'm going to show you how to do the Turkish stitch. This stitch is very simple. It's just a 1-row repeat and it provides a fabric that lays wonderfully flat and it's completely reversible. I knit up this cowl recently using this pattern, and I've provided details for the cowl pattern as well as for the actual stitch in the description field, and I'll talk a little bit more about the cowl towards the end of the video. But let me show you how the stitch is done. It is worked on an even number of stitches, and I've already knit up a small sample here, and I'll continue or I'll demonstrate it to you in this same sample, but just you can assume that these are the stitches that I've cast on, because you're pretty much going to start this from the cast on edge. And I've cast on about 12 stitches here. Like I said, you do need an even number of stitches. So the pattern will tell you that you do a knit 1 and then begins the repeat. So the repeat is where you bring the yarn to the front, then you do an SKP, and what that stands for is slip, knit, pass the slip stitch over. So you're gonna insert your needle into the next stitch purlwise and just bring it over. You've just slipped it. Then you knit the next stitch. Now the yarn is in the front, which is where we want it. And now you're gonna pass this slip stitch over this last knit stitch. So you're gonna take your left needle, insert it into that second stitch, that slip stitch, and pass it over. And that's your SKP. And you're just going to keep repeating this throughout all the way to the last stitch in the row. Now I've provided a link right here if you want a slower demonstration on how to do the SKP. So yarn forward, slip, knit, pass the slip stitch over. Yarn forward, slip, knit, pass the slip stitch over. And you just have to remember to do that yarn forward. Don't forget to do that yarn forward. Once you've repeated this row a few times, it'll come to you automatically. And then when you get to the last stitch, you're just going to knit it. And that's it. That's the row. You're going to keep repeating that row over and over to get the beautiful Turkish stitch. Now for the cowl, I knit this cowl up using a provisional cast on. So here's my edge, that's the seamed edge, and I started with the provisional cast on. I've provided a link right here to my provisional cast on video if you're not familiar with that. And I knitted up entirely, just kept knitting for the length. I've provided the details for how long this cowl is in the description. And then at the end, I picked up the provisional cast on stitches and I seamed the ends using the Kitchener stitch. And I've provided a link right here for the Kitchener stitch video as well if you're not familiar with that technique. Now I did make this as an infinity scarf, or rather an infinity cowl. And what that means is I didn't join the ends just like that. I flipped one side over. So let me show you, just maybe using this little sheet of paper here. Let's say this is your knitted piece. If you want to make a regular cowl, you're just going to seam your ends like that. But if you want to make an infinity cowl, then keep one end the same and then flip the other end and then seam it together like so. Remember, this pattern is reversible, so it's not going to matter whether you do it this way or this way. Your finished product itself will look the same, the pattern will look the same. And as you can see here, I've done it in the infinity way, and it looks entirely the same because the pattern is completely reversible. So I hope you give this stitch a try, and if you have any questions, please leave me a comment, or if you have suggestions for new stitches, I'm gonna keep trying to do a new stitch each day. So hopefully I can get at least through the end of the year. And thanks again for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, Knittycat's Knits, and I'll see you again tomorrow with a new stitch. Happy knitting!